It always says live video is starting, so I always wait until the number. So if you're experiencing a delay, that's why. Hey, everyone, I'm on here to be able to share something that I actually lost sleep over last night, and I wanted to get enough preliminary information to be able to share this with you, to be able to let you know that I found something a little concerning. So I was on social media last night, and I was speaking with a friend, and I'm so thankful that they trust me, sharing information as people tend to do, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you guys for doing that. And using me as a mechanism to be able to try to create more of an awareness about some of the stuff that's going on. This particular issue is really super concerning. I know that every 10 years, most of us are worried about the U.S. Census. Every time we end up with a Marxist president like we have, the questions become rather invasive. They're no longer aggregate. They want to know everything about you, how many white shirts you have, how many kids you have, how many black shirts you have, what kind of underwear you have, how often you go to the bathroom, things of that nature. I find those grossly abusive, an abuse of federal power, and I know that you do too. So I know that we're not in the 10th year yet, but the U.S. Census apparently is floating around. And they may have shown up at your door, and they may not have shown up at your door, or they may not have shown up yet. And I just wanted you to know that the U.S. Census Bureau is showing up at your door, and I would love to show you the information and evidence I have of that, but I've been asked to be able to keep that to myself. What I can tell you is about what's on the information, and I would like to do so now. I'm going to pull up my email so I can't see you. Apparently, this is from the U.S. Census Department of Commerce. So I don't know if this looks like another unelected bureaucratic agency from the U.S. Census Bureau. So apparently, they like to spew new agencies every time they get an opportunity to continue to put us in debt. But this is from the U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Census Bureau, 2300 West Empire Avenue, Suite 300. Now, Burbank, California, ladies and gentlemen, 91508. So we have a U.S. Census taker type person showing up at your door unannounced, not calling you and letting you know they're coming, and they're putting their card on their door with a few little items that I'd want to share. Now, how much they actually put on your door, I have not had that clarification at the moment. I only know that the documentation that I have. This particular card is from a Kathy Brown Collins. She's the field representative from the Los Angeles region, ladies and gentlemen. I know Idahoans are not particularly fond of Californians, especially people from LA, much less have them snooping around your door, wanting to be able to know what kind of information you have. And this census information, ladies and gentlemen, is not aggregate information like how many cars do you have, how many kids do you have, how many people live in the county, and all that. They want to know personal questions like how many kids you have, what their names are, where you work, what the addresses of work, how far are you from home, what kind of cars do you drive, how long have you had them, and so on and so on and so on. And I'm telling you guys, I'm going to end up getting some more information to be able to share with you in the next video to be able to help you understand exactly how invasive they are. So one of the pieces of information that actually came in this packet was this. It's from the U.S. Census Bureau, and it's called the American Community Survey. How nice is that? Don't they always put nice names on all that when they're about to abuse you and rob your children and rob from your future? I mean, we've got pedophilia and Pizzagate, and we've got, Weekend at Bernie's Biden that's out there screwing around. We've got Marxists that are trying to destroy private property. They're trying to kill cattle and kill the propane industry and make it to where we're going to live in teepees, as somebody said on Facebook. But meanwhile, they want to be able to harass you and eat your own substance at home. So I thought I would read the American Community Survey so that you understand exactly what it is. And this actually came from the Denver regional office, as it's declared on the bottom. It says, do I have to participate? And it says, this is a mandatory survey. So We all know what mandates are like, right? With mask mandates, somehow they don't have any lawful authority. The other thing, it says, as a survey provided by Title 13 of the United States Code. Well, most of us that we realize we live in a constitutional republic, not everything federally mandated is a law. What they're going to actually need, if I remember right, if I have my thinking hat on correctly, they are actually going to need permission from the sheriff about coming to your door. And the fact that they didn't is detestable to me, that they think somehow they have the authority to be able to circumvent not only the state legislature and the county sheriff or the local policeman, the police chief, or subverting your congressman even, which we probably need to be calling as one of those action items. But they're using stress and pressure to be able to say it's provided by Title 13 under the United States Code. Because it is a sample survey, your participation is very important if we're going to be able to produce accurate statistics from it. Well, who cares? What if I don't want to? Send me another questionnaire in the mail, right? Unfortunately, the time for conducting this survey by mail has passed. We need to collect your information now in order to keep it from your schedule, to keep up with our schedule. Why don't you select someone else? Your address was scientifically selected. Now, we all know about science, because if you trust the science, you can trust the federal government. And I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Your address was scientifically selected from a list of addresses, so we can't substitute anyone else's address for yours. Yes, you can. One of the advantages of this sample survey, now it is a sample survey on one hand, right? But it's mandatory according to Title 13 on the other one, right? Is that we can use it to measure a whole population without having to actually interview every household. Well, isn't that what they do with the census? Ladies and gentlemen, they send every single person every 10 years a questionnaire that to every single household, so that they can essentially interview every household. I'm looking at this as rather redundant and rather invasive too. Question 4. I think this is a waste of taxes. There are many reasons why it's definitely not a waste of tax dollars. Government agencies, businesses, and general public rely on the up-to-date statistics like the information we're collecting in this survey to make informed decisions. You mean like they benefit from like socialist welfare, right? And social justice and equity, not equality, those kinds of things, you mean? How will this information be used? The data from the surveys are summarized so that no one person can be identified. Sure. Wasn't there just a data breach where everybody in California got to be able to see all of the gun owners? Yeah, so we're going to trust the federal government, right? Especially under the Weekend at Bernie's administration. So the federal, state, and local governments use the data as an information base for planning, administering, evaluating government programs. Well, as far as I know, the federal government's not allowed to be able to collect data from the citizens, and that would be the job of the state, not the federal government. Businesses use the data to make informed decisions. See how they did that? There's that little capitalist component in a communist system going, well, our community businesses could really benefit from this information. I'm sure people would benefit from what color underwear I wear and how often I eat and how often I go to the bathroom, especially the septic people. They'd probably really, really like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean because it benefits people that you should have to share your information, because now there's no security and there's no privacy whatsoever. Question 5. How will this information be used? The data from the surveys is summarized so that no one person can be identified. I think I already read that one. Number 6, what confidential protection do I have? Is this a joke? What confidential protection do I have? And it's actually written in caps, confidential protection. The law requires that the Census Bureau must be carefully to protect the information you provide and hold it in confidence. Confidence? Really? That's interesting, because they don't hold anything confident. We will publish only statistics from the survey. Like all census interviews, I have taken an oath of confidentiality. Can you tell me what the oath of confidentiality is? Is that like an oath to the Constitution, or, who exactly is that to, right? So then we have number 7. Is the survey authorized by law? Well, it depends on what law is, right? Administrative law, constitutional law, or just abusive statutory federal overreach. The survey is authorized by Title 13, Section 141, 193, 24 of the United States Code. Section 9 of the law requires us to keep all information about you and your household strictly confidential. Well, it's really, really important to look at this survey. Number one, is the law actually say that you actually have to fill the survey out since it is apparently voluntary or it's a sample survey? Or does the law actually say that they have to keep the information private? Now, we need to be very, very careful when we look through this, because if the law basically says that you have to do the survey, then you have to do a little bit more digging. But if the law actually says that they will only keep information once you're being surveyed, that would take us down a different rabbit hole. Number 8, I thought you only counted people. This is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, the Census Bureau collects lots of information because, you got to fund their retirement and their benefits and their salaries for life. I mean, that's really what you have to do so that once they retire, they can continue to live off the system as if they haven't lived off of it and abused it enough as it is. The census, which is conducted every 10 years, is what most people know about. But we do hundreds of thousands of other kinds of interviews every year with governments, businesses, and people. I don't really care. I don't really care how often you do that stuff. It's not up to us to be able to try to be able to make you happy by giving you the information you need to know. So, here's another letter. I'm assuming this has a user ID on it. I can't share that with you, but it says, it doesn't even acknowledge you as a homeowner, an American citizen, a patriotic citizen. It says, under the U.S. Census Bureau, it says, a message from the director, U.S. Census Bureau. It's like, oh, okay, we already know this isn't going to be good. The U.S. Census Bureau is conducting an American community survey, in caps. A Census Bureau representative will contact you to help you complete the survey. You know what? I don't need anybody from the federal government helping me to fill out a survey. I either will fill it out on my own or I won't. In this particular case, I won't. The survey will ask you questions about your household's characteristics, including topics such as education, employment, and housing. We would appreciate your help because the success of the survey depends on you. Sounds kind of voluntary, doesn't it? Well, until you start looking at Title 13, where we're going to ask you nicely to forcefully have you fill out the survey, and if you don't, we won't tell you what's going to happen. We'll just wait and see. In this particular case where I got this from, the guy is just waiting because he's not exactly sure where this is going to go, or this woman in this particular case, right? And apparently men and women of all kinds of folks are getting these things, so it's not just out for one. The American Community Survey is not the 2020 census. Well, constitutionally, guess what? They don't have the authority to be able to ask the questions then, because that, I believe, is the only authoritative thing that we have to do according to our Constitution every 10 years. But this is extra, see? Because the federal government never shrinks itself. It always expands its authority. And here's one more way that they're doing it, and they're going to rub your face in it. This survey includes questions that are not asked by the 2020 census, so you think you need to fill them out? Such as health insurance, transportation, and internet access. Yeah, sure. You know what this is? This is Agenda 21. They want to be able to figure out how to be able to address all of these issues, which are outlined in the book that I've read 4 times that you should read if you haven't read already. Your response to the American Community Survey is required by law, Title 13, United States Code, Section 141, 193, and 221. The American Community Survey produces critically up-to-date information that is used to meet the needs of communities across the United States. For example, results from this survey may be used to decide where new schools, hospitals, or fire stations are needed. Why is that a federal issue? Why does the federal government care about where the communities are going to put their schools, or how we're going to deal with any of these, or fire stations or hospitals? And besides, aren't hospitals private anyway? So now all of a sudden, are we becoming more fascist because the federal government now wants to not only circumvent the Congress, but they want to be able to circumvent local governments and work with private businesses so that they can be controlled by the federal government? Survey data are used by the federal, tribal, state, and local governments to make decisions that affect you and your community. Agenda 21. This survey information always helps communities plan for emergency situations. There they are. In the name of security, why don't you fill it out? I mean, do you have something to hide? You love security more than you love freedom, so why don't you just fill out their darn survey? The Census Bureau chose your address, not you personally, sure. As part of a randomly selected sample, we estimate the survey will take about 40 minutes of your time. Do you suppose they'd pay us? I mean, if time is money and they're getting paid to be able to work with us, shouldn't we be paid as well? The Census Bureau is required by law. See, here they did it again. This is kind of a passive-aggressive letter, isn't it? We want to just, it's a sample letter, and we're going to do it for the community, but, you know, it's mandated by law, right? As if that's going to put the fear of God in you, right? It's required by law to keep your information confidential. So here it is again. So if I had to look at the law, I would almost be inclined to say that Title 13 probably does more to say that they are more inclined to keep your information confidential, which they don't do anyway, than it does for you to have to fill out something that's not during a census. We are not permitted to publicly release your responses in a way that could identify this household. Sure, right? I mean, California just released all of the gun owners, right? The Federal Cybersecurity Enhancement Act of 2015, another act of tyranny. Your data are protected by the cybersecurity risk through screening your systems that transmit your data. You mean like our debit cards and like our credit cards? And like our information that's being collected on everywhere on social media, and every time we scan our debit cards and our credit cards, and every time we buy a car and every time we buy a house, yeah, I can understand how that would be secure. If you have any access to the internet and want to learn more about the American Community Survey, please visit our website at census.gov/ACS. This was actually written, it's a form letter, from Stephen D. Dillingham. It's insane, guys. So I know I'm taking a little bit longer, but I've got one more here. So what you'll also get as part of this packet, I'm assuming, is it says the U.S. Census Bureau, and every other color has a different color blue, and it's so pretty. And it says the Census Bureau's promise to you. You guys are going to feel really warm and fuzzy about this, so let me just speak in a warm and fuzzy tone. When you respond to our questions, only people who have sworn secrecy to the Census Bureau can see your answers. And they won't tell! Exclamation point. Yes, it does say that. If we do, we will face a maximum of 5 years in jail and a $250,000 fine. That's the law. Well, don't you feel safe now? The law and our respect for your privacy mean that you can trust the federal government. I mean, the Census Bureau. We measure America. Agenda 21 measures America and every other country on the globe in order to measure, monitor, and manipulate every soul on the planet. Our numbers are the sums of answers from many people like you, and they represent your whole community, not you as an individual. Can you see how that's possible? So, go ahead and please answer the survey's questions. Your answers help us all see ourselves more clearly as a nation. Don't you feel comfortable? Your answers are a chance to be heard, since you don't really have any other chance. We sincerely appreciate your cooperation. Kathy Brown, BFR, Bureau Field Rep. And it's got a nice little ribbon in the bottom left-hand corner. Ladies and gentlemen, what I've just exposed to you is major abuse of your federal government that is knocking on your door, asking questions outside of a census year, that wants to know more information, more invasive information, than you feel like giving them. As if all of these other projects I've been covering don't matter and all that. Eventually, I'm going to find one that strikes your nerve. I'm going to find one that's going to get you off of your chair, and it's going to get you start fighting the issues with everybody else, because these are all connected. This has got Agenda 21 sustainable development all over it. You can believe it. You can not believe it even if you want. But if you like federal abuse, it really doesn't matter what it's attached to, at least in this particular instance, because I just proved that the U.S. Census is giving information and it's knocking on your door because it wants to be able to ask you random questions in a sample ballot that is mandated by Title 13 that I would actually feel like I need to go look at right now try to find out what it actually says. I have several people that are being that have the questionnaires. They're going to go ahead and take pictures of those for me so that I can do future videos to be able to help expose more about what this federal government type of thing is. A couple of action items I think you can do is number one, share this video. Number two, talk to other people about this census issue. Number three, contact your congressman and inquire about what the hell this census garbage is. You're probably going to have to show them your information, so make sure that your personal information is redacted. I would also make a call to your local police chief. I would also make a call to your county sheriff. And you know what? It probably wouldn't hurt to be able to alert your legislators either. The other thing that you might want to do, since I'm all about being active and as active as I can be, and since they are really talking about fire departments and they're talking about where they're going to put schools and they're talking about all of these other things, is why not communicate with those entities as well to find out what they know about this census? And then what you need to do is create enough create enough frustration and enough resistance that we can send these LA district US Census people home packing without harassing us at home. So those are just a couple of action items you guys can do. If you guys have any success or difficulties, I really swear, you guys, with all of the things that people are suffering, the one thing I wish I could do with sharing this information and everything else is to be able to win against these battles that are coming against us. And at some point, I just haven't been able to do it other than share the information. We are in a battle. We do need to help each other. This is all I'm able to do right now. I can't necessarily go after people and do things of that nature, but you know, we can together. And if we can create enough resistance on this issue, we can get people to be more informed about what we're about to face on every issue. And so I ask, as I have lately, if you have an issue that you're dealing with at home that you think that you can articulate or that you think you can share with me, and I will articulate it for you so that more people can be informed, I would very much like to do that. It's like I said, it's all I can do at this point. So these are other action items that we can do. I'm not going to tolerate people telling me that, that I'm not active enough or that we're not active enough. There are some of us that get calls every day from people that are suffering from these issues, and it's hugely, hugely important that you understand what these issues are, take time to understand what they are, realize how they're going to affect you, and know how to act accordingly when that happens. If you have not been approached by the U.S. Census yet, it's a great opportunity for you to think about what would happen when they actually show up. It was one of those things that in closing, that I had written down some notes that I have right here on my next to my computer about if somebody knocks on the door about mandatory vaccinations. And maybe this is something that you might want to consider. Now, I can't tell you that, what the law says. I can just tell you what some of my rights are. And one of my rights is to lock the door and don't answer it. Number two is, understand HIPAA. Number three is your right to remain silent. Number four is to ask for ID. Take pictures and record the incident. You can talk about probable cause. You can make sure that you're not threatening. I don't think being threatening is going to help. I think what that's going to do is it's going to cause more problems than I think you need to do. So you need to be nice if you can. And don't brandish a firearm. Please don't brandish a firearm. That's going to cause all kinds of problems since we already have the Second Amendment under fire anyway. Unless you feel like, this is a good day to die. It's not going to be a good day to advance the cause. I can guarantee you that. And the other thing you can do is ask for a warrant. So that's not legal advice. Those are things that I would do that I'm sharing with you. And you can either do those and not do them and suffer the consequences thereof. But those are some of the things that I had written down when I had seen somebody post that on Facebook, and those sounded like some legitimate things to concern. So anyway, I just wanted to be able to share that with you guys today. I found out about it last night. I did not sleep well. I wanted to be able to share that with you guys, and I just waited until today because I felt like giving you more information was probably helpful. So please be aware that this is happening. Uh, Please stay tuned. When I get updated information, I'll be willing to share that with you. And if you've got some issues that you need to share, please reach out to me. So, anyway, you guys have a good day. Talk to you later.